The views and opinions expressed on any program are those of the producers and/or the persons appearing on the program and do not necessarily reflect the views and opinions of FRC Media, Bristol Community College, or the City of Fall River.
Well, hello. Welcome to Spindle City Straight Talk. I'm Chip.
And I'm CJ.
And we've got a show today. Today is the big day, CJ. The second half of Grimm's fairy tales come out, or better known as the report, part 2 of As the Stomach Turns.
This is true.
I'm so excited. My heart is all a Twitter.
This is true. I'm telling you, it's getting to be an interesting day in the neighborhood. And I did send out a email this morning to Rob Bentleweski, the special assistant to the mayor, making sure that he releases it immediately. And I told him we do go live at 11 a.m. I doubt the report will be available then, but please send it out as soon as it's available. So I'm sure next week's show is going to be quite interesting. But I wanted to get to something right away. And I think it's important with the, outflow of this report shortly. And I want to talk about New Bedford, because remember, New Bedford doesn't know where the money is, according to the finance team at the city council meeting. And this comes from.
How can they say that? Wouldn't that make them negative? Anybody that says anything is negative.
I know.
In that case, they are trying to be negative about a different city. But I guess in this city, if you tell the truth about this city, you're negative. But if you condemn another community, that's okay.
Yeah, exactly.
Right, I just wanted to just throw.
Well, I'm only
sorry
going
to interrupt, but
yeah, that's okay.
I just had to get it in there.
I don't blame you. I'm only going to touch the highlights. Okay. John Mitchell was talking about in his State of the City address, which, as most are, was a lot of fluff. But I'm going to take some of his quotes here and show that he can back them up. He talks about when he first entered office, experts claim the financial situation in 2008, it was impossible to fix. But he said, we chose not to shy from our challenge, but to take them on. We chose to not sit back and hope that others would come to our rescue. We instead chose to take control of our own destiny. Oh, wow, that's some great advice. Then, a few paragraphs down, he goes, this year, more cargo has come into the port than in recent memory, creating job opportunities for our longshoremen, and our fishing industry remains tops in the United States, bringing in now a whopping 34% of all landings in New England. 34%. They added cargo, something we've been talking about for the Fall River Pier for a long time. We don't do it. We're too stupid to do it. We can't do it, all right? But New Bedford's doing it, creating jobs. The city is now purchasing more electricity from solar than any municipality in the Commonwealth, and is on track to save taxpayers approximately $33 million in 20 years. Now, here's a real slap in the face to the city of Fall River and to our city council especially. Through solid financial management, can you believe that? We have done more with less. We reined in spending, consolidated departments, built a strong managerial team, hired the city's first chief financial officer in 7 years, created the city's first capital improvement plan, and built up our rainy day fund. We are proud that through these efforts, we secured the city's highest bond rating in the last 40 years. The city did, not riding the backbone of the state. First, we have not sat back and passively hoped for good things to happen. We have initiated the action. We did not sit idly by and watch the state take over our schools. We jumped in and took on the challenge ourselves. Unity does not mean that we need to agree on everything. That's neither realistic nor necessary. But what is required is that we refuse to let disagreements over minor matters get in the way of tackling our major challenges. Oh, something unheard of in Fall River. You're negative. You're negative if you disagree with somebody. Third, our approach is about the long run. This is intense pressure to govern for the short term, to pivot with every crisis. Oh, isn't that how Fall River does it? We react. We don't, we're not proactive. To yield to the tugging of every constituency, like neighborhood groups. They want a park. Whatever the merits, the right decisions are usually the ones that don't have an immediate payoff. Government doesn't have all the solutions. Some of the problems are out of our immediate reach, but we can and must act decisively to remove barriers standing in the way of our citizens' pursuit of a better life. More than anything else, we must lay the groundwork for economic growth. Kenny Fiola, could you listen to this, please? The kind of growth that reaches all our citizens. My administration is focused on creating the conditions for jobs to grow in this city. More good jobs means more residents purchasing homes, more neighborhood kids going to college, more money spent in local businesses and on local charities, and more confident, vibrant community. We are established and growing cargo and recreational boating destination as well. These are all economic development programs. Our economic development strategy will continue to be founded on the city governments having an open, transparent, and reliable relationship with business. Mr. Mayor, speak to Mayor Mitchell. Maybe he can give you some hints about open and transparency and not 16 layers of walls before they can get through to you. At the end of the day, we will have a unified strategy that each of us can confidently hold up to investors and public officials and say, this is what we here in New Bedford are doing to advance our future. Strong cities have strong neighborhoods, and neighborhoods remain strong when residents and City Hall work together to support a quality of life that allows for children to play outdoors, dogs to be walked, and homeowners to enjoy a warm summer evening on the porch. Vibrant neighborhoods draw residents out of their homes to comfortably interact with one another in a way that strengthens their bonds with their neighbors. That's unheard of in Fall River now. We owe taxpayers, and this is a statement we have to remember. The people of Fall River need to drill this in to this mayor, this city council, this school committee. We owe the taxpayers this. We will do everything possible to make city government more efficient and higher performing. Asking more of taxpayers is much more acceptable if they have confidence that they are getting their money's worth. This year, we will continue to incorporate performance measurements systems so that we run city government like a private business that knows precisely what it's getting for its money. Can you believe that? Accountability standards.
Well,
amazing.
Well,
it's amazing.
Okay. Yeah, so, it was, it was a pretty good comparison that we can draw here. But let's first, we have to acknowledge the fact that when it comes to seaport industries and things like that, New Bedford does have an advantage. They are a seaport city. They have a long history of that, and so they have a slight advantage. So it's up to Fall River to find the advantages that we have. But the important thing is, and I'm going to go back and kind of encapsulate it and apply it to why it's not being done in Fall River here, or they're saying it's being done and it's not being done properly. The first thing he said, we chose not to shy away from our challenge, but take them on. We chose not to sit back and hope that others would come to our rescue. Instead, we took control of our own destiny. So let's look at Fall River. The first thing out of the mouth is, let's get another SAFER grant. Let's bond for a study. Let's ask the state for more money. Let's whine because the cherry sheet may get reduced. Not find ways to actually prioritize our spending as New Bedford did and put money where it, where it should be. They also put their money where their mouth was. They looked, thought out of the box, saved money for the taxpayers. The fact that they're going to save $33 million and they are the purchasing more electricity than any municipality in Commonwealth of Massachusetts, solar electricity, to save $33 million. I know for a fact that we have some of the most inefficient stations still running. They haven't done anything to close the heat, to deal with the heating, deal with the heating bills and things like this in city buildings. That, you know, these are the kind of things that save taxpayers money. And more importantly, they've reined in spending. Reined in spending. We never rein in spending. We just keep spending. Reined in spending. Solid fiscal management. Consolidated departments. What did we talk about? What have we been talking about for the last couple of years? Reorganizations before you raise the taxes. And at that final one, we owe taxpayers this. We will do everything possible to make our city government more efficient and higher performing. Asking more of the taxpayer is much more acceptable. As a matter of fact, I don't agree with that. It's only acceptable if we have confidence that we're getting our money's worth and that the city is performing at its most efficient level and it's lean and there is no waste. But that's not what happens in Fall River, unfortunately. And it looks like we're looking at the same old again. Safer grant. They're telling us that everything's okay. Oh, look, everything was, it wasn't as bad as they said. Look, we got $499,000 left over. The budget is okay. We're not in a hole. Yes, we are. We have to look at those projections for revenue and see if they're accurate. They may not be, but it will be too late because it will be after the next election, after the next budget. The problem is that, we continue to listen to promises and don't demand results. We haven't had any results. There was a picture of Kenny Fiola, head for 20-some years of the Office of Economic Destruction, with the mayor touting how we are on the cusp of economic, Valhalla, the heaven of economic development. Yeah, we're sure we're on the cusp. And what did they cite for this amazing transition that's going to happen to Fall River? Because we have so much potential. They didn't talk about streamlining government. They didn't talk about saving money in every possible way. No. They said, oh, we've got a warehouse coming to Fall River. They forgot to say it's a scaled-down version, and they may not be here once their TIFs are gone. And if that's the only thing we're getting, well, again, what are we really doing? And then they said one of the motivators of economic development is going to be the expansion of Bristol Community College. It's great. Education is the great tool. The more education you get, the more opportunities we have. However, most of the students at Bristol Community College don't live in the city. And if they do live in the city, once they get an education, they're going to probably move out of the city because they're going to really get a decent job and they'll be able to afford to move out of the city. That's the reality of Fall River. And then he said, we have 2 world-class hospitals, like it's going to be a giant magnet. These 2 world-class hospitals, which is absolute baloney. They're they're low-level hospitals. You look at every major healthcare carrier, they're the lowest tier. They're the cheapest hospitals to go to. Why? Because 50 miles away, we have some of the best hospitals in the world, and 20 miles away in Providence, we have hospitals that are just below Boston. So again, like when they say we're going to steal tourists from the Cape and Newport, again, we get baloney topped with BS. That's the economic sandwich that we get. That's the economic talk we get. And that's the reason we go nowhere. And that's the reason New Bedford has gone somewhere now. They're beginning to move. They're beginning to move because what did they do? They cut the fat. They looked at themselves first, not at other people, not hoping somebody comes to the city. They began fixing their own foundation. They streamlined their government. They made it more efficient. They made people answerable. They think about how much they spend. We have a city that's like a bunch of drunken sailors. It's like they've been out on the high seas for a year and they got all their pay in their pocket and it's burning a hole in it. And when they jump off the ship and get into town, they just buy everything. Just keep spending until they have no money. And you know, that's one of the problems. The problem is, you know, it's not being negative, it's being realistic. The fact is, when you don't care about what you do, when you don't take personal responsibility and begin with yourself to improve your lot, you will never ever move forward. And then anybody who points that out is called negative, and that's crap, because the fact is, being realistic and evaluating yourself realistically is the only way you can fix a problem and change, because you have to first admit the problem. The first thing that anybody with an alcohol or drug dependency has to do is admit that they have a problem. Because if they're in denial, they don't have a problem. And that's the problem with Fall River. We're in denial. All our government officials are in denial. And they keep enabling that denial by coming up with ridiculous things like this. I mean, it was sad. It was sad to read that economic development speech, that we're hanging our hat on two mid-level hospitals, a college, a community college that most of the students don't, as I said, live in Fall River, and a scaled-down warehouse. And that was the crux of our economic development plan. It's tragic.
And it's such a plan that they have to wait until June to release it.
I think July.
July to release it. So again, 6 and 7 months out. Happens to come out in the middle of the election cycle, and it's going to be fluff. It's going to be nothing, because Kenny Fiola hasn't produced anything for Fall River. Kenny Fiola has produced for Kenny Fiola. Okay? And, you know, the Office of Economic Destruction does not do anything. They're now saying, oh, look, we've got Amazon coming. Amazon's coming. We got 500 jobs from them, which won't go to Fall River. There's no guarantee they're going to go to Fall River. Blount got their $10 million in money. Amazon got their millions of dollars in money, and that's all they cared about. They don't care about Fall River, and economic development is supposed to better the community. And you and I have spoken about this numerous times, that if there's no money, you're not going to better the community, okay? And then for people to say, oh, well, you're negative, you're talking against jobs, we're not speaking against jobs. But the state is listed by the U.S. government, and in a national survey, which came out yesterday, the Commonwealth of Massachusetts, the majority of available jobs in this city, in this state, 63% of the jobs available in Massachusetts require a minimum baccalaureate degree. Minimum. 63% of the jobs. So how is Fall River, who has on average, and I'm being generous here, an 8th grade education, going to get a job that requires a baccalaureate degree? How can a hospital, which, by the way, doesn't pay a dime in taxes, that being South Coast Hospital Group, going to benefit Fall River? Yes, they gave a lot of people jobs, okay? And they are providing jobs for people. Not all those people are from Fall River, though. And again, when you go out on a Monday or a Tuesday night to spend some of your excess cash, which we have very little of, and you want to spend the night out with friends or family at a local and locally owned restaurant, and they're closed on a Monday or Tuesday night because they can't bring customers in, they cannot financially afford it, what does that say to other people who aren't from Fall River to come here. It says, why do I want to go there? Why? Why can't we attract big name companies besides Amazon? And the ones we do attract, like Walmart and Sam's Club is probably going to close in the next 4 to 6 months. That is what their projections are at this time. I got that straight from corporate, okay? That if there is not a substantial change in their revenue, they're going to have to consider closing, which means they're going to violate their TIF. And we're going to lose those jobs. Why is it that employees who work at Sam's Club, okay, file for a transfer to another store? Because they're afraid they're going to lose their job there, and they go to other stores. Why do we get from a vice president at Walmart, when he's confronted with the fact that the Walmart prices in Fall River are higher than the other Walmart stores in this area? This is Fall River. They're on welfare and food stamps. They can afford it. Okay? Those are comments that come directly from companies that the Office of Economic Destruction brought here to take advantage of our poor free riders, according to, the city administrator. The free riders. Excuse me, not the administrator, the chief of staff.
Chief of staff.
The chief of staff.
But
okay, so this is what Fall River's about, and this is what we're going to become. Do you know? I've got a great economic development plan right off the top. Every mill in the city of Fall River that is not actively used, demolition it. Save one for a museum. That then becomes available, developable commercial land. Okay, give the property owners an incentive to sell and demolish that building. Then you'll get things like Home Depot, Lowe's. You'll get, Targets. They can't come here because there's no developable land in areas that are easily accessible from the highway.
Well, CJ, that's a pretty good idea, but there's a problem, and the problem is, and I'm going to go back to the mayor of New Bedford's speech. He said, we will continue to incorporate performance measurement systems. Well, we don't have a performance measurement system, because if we did, the Office of Economic Destruction would have been destroyed years ago. Because look around. How much has Fall River improved? What have we really brought into the city that stayed in the city or even come to the city? We've had many companies come and go as soon as the TIFs were gone. We can't attract business, and there were a lot of dynamics. Look, I'm not saying this is an easy task. This is a very poor city. We have a lot of challenges facing us. But I'm going to tell you something. Nobody wants to come to a city that can't run its own house. And that gets back to his first statement. We chose not to sit back and hope others would come to our rescue. We chose to take control of our own destiny. Well, you know something? If I was a corporate leader, and I looked at a city, and I saw a city that was always looking to run itself on borrowed money, federal grants, state money, and basically just refused to get its own house in order, why would I want to go there? Why would I want to bring my business and my people there? When I see a school system that's a mess, I see a community that's in a total state of disarray, I see fire and police protection being sacrificed because there's no money, and they're depending on grants for these things, and I want to bring my people to an environment where they're safe, where I can have confidence that when my company is moving forward, this city is moving forward too, and the city is solid and solvent. It's like building your house on a cliff. It's like nobody in their right mind. It's like the people in California who built their houses on on a landslide zone, and the house went sliding down into the ocean or something, and everybody is like, oh my God. Well, guess what? Most people don't do this. And most companies don't go to cities who, when they're looked at by outside people, the comment is almost universally held that this city is a mess. These people can't run their own house. Yeah, that's why small business is the backbone, because we can't attract big business. Because I'll tell you what, you think people want to bring their people in? Number one, they wouldn't live here. They'd live in the suburbs. Number two, as I said, this city is unpredictable. He said they have the highest bond rating in 40 years in New Bedford. Our bond rating was just lowered. The bond rating company said this city was run like a circus. You don't think major companies can read? You don't think that major companies look at this? Where they locate? When they do locate, the only reason they locate here is a temporary location to save money because they get TIFs. We're bribing them to come here. And I don't mind bribing somebody to come here if you've got a legitimate chance of keeping them. But we don't have a chance of keeping them because this city never, ever changes its act. We're doing the same thing now. I can't believe that they want to bond $300,000 for a study for the Armory. We're talking about the B word and the G word. Grants and bonds again. Even though we had a promise that things were going to change, but they haven't.
Nothing changes in Fall River, Chip. We know this. And the problem is, it is the people of Fall River that stop it from changing. It is the people of Fall River who are too ignorant to see what is going on, or they don't want to see it, so they ignore it.
Well, I'm not sure if I agree with. I think a lot of people are upset, but they have the attitude that, look, there's nothing I can do about it. It's just, it's so bad here, and what can I do? But no, I understand.
It takes one person. It takes one person to start the ball rolling. We've done this before, okay? And the thing is that the people of Fall River need to start the ball rolling. Don't stand up there and make excuses. Oh, you're wonderful. You're doing right. You're doing everything perfect, when they're the ones causing the problem. Take a stand, have a backbone.
Well, they've got to vote, CJ. And the fact is, I got to get this in because I got a call today from somebody saying that Pat Casey's going around to the fire stations asking firefighters how much sick leave they took and if they had a side job. Number one, this is what's wrong with Fall River. She better worry about voting for voting for $800,000 for a park when we're broke and worry about our own job. The fact is, if somebody has a sick leave problem on a fire department, that's the chief's job. He's supposed to bring him in on a carpet and suspend him or take whatever disciplinary action that is necessary. And as far as having a side job, Pat, you got a side job, your city council job. That wasn't your only job. So what does that got to do with the price of apples? These guys are showing up for work and they're doing their job. You're in there now. You're in there now doing you're on. What kind of witch hunt are you on now? What's that got to do with the fire protection in the city? You're going to do the study. You don't know. You don't know defecation from Shinola. Okay?
Well, it's interesting because Linda Pereira actually brought that up with the chief. Is there an abuse of sick time? But again, these are the problems we have. They try to divert. They try to create an issue. And people are going to be watching the show today. They're going to say, why did you bring up New Bedford? Why did we bring up New Bedford? Because the finance transition team, because the city council all called them out and called them everything under the sun and said they were lying. But the numbers don't lie in this case, okay? As you always say, Chip, okay? Figures don't lie, but liars can figure.
Well, and I understand. I was born and brought up in this city. I graduated from Durfee, and, we've always hated New Bedford. It's Durfee, New Bedford basketball, Durfee, New Bedford football. We hate New Bedford. But the reality is, look, if they're doing something right, if anybody's doing something right, we need to take a page from their book. And you know something? This isn't a basketball game, and it isn't a football game. It's the city of Fall River's future that's on the line. So let's hold them all accountable, because next show we're going to open with Revolution by the Beatles, because that's what we need.
Thanks for everything. We'll see you next week.